Here we are then, everybody. We are about to line up on the grid here for the Austrian Grand Prix round 11 of 24 for season 14 here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. As we've got a familiar sight out the front, we've got Badman here lining up on pole position, but we've got Basin lining up alongside him. We'll be looking to, I'm sure, do some damage from the front row of the grid. And then right behind them we've got G.C. and Justify alongside him. Here we go then, lights are on. And it is lights out and we're underway. And it looks as though Badman gets a good start there. There's G.C. working to the outside here of Basin into turn one. Well, saying that, he's ghosting. So is that G.C.'s AI? I think it might be, because he's dropping places here. So G.C.'s not at the screen at the moment, so he's dropping places. We've got C-Mac there losing out to Mango, who's up into 12th place. But Basin's coming under pressure here from Justify, who's made a strong start, as we see the Ferrari there diving up the inside of the background of Rexy Boy. And there was a bit of contact there in the meantime as Ernie and Scott just rubbed doors a little bit there. Obviously they haven't got doors because they're Formula 1 cars, but you know what I mean. But anyway, Basin is side by side here with Justify and stays ahead for the time being. We've got Scott there ahead of Matty, who's got ahead of Ernie there. So Matty Pitt gaining a place. We can see there we've got Rexy Boy and C Faulkner going pretty close here. Drago now looking to try and feast on the scraps. A little bit too far back on C Faulkner at the moment. You've got Mango there gaining even more places here on this opening lap. Drago in the meantime has got ahead of C Faulkner up into P8 on the exit of Lauder Curve. But we've got Mango ahead of John with C-Mac in P12. Then you've got White Shadow and G.C. AI currently running in 14th place. So that has gone an absolute nightmare of a start here for G.C. Obviously on in some leagues you have the AI set to a much higher level, so if you're not at the screen then you generally can recover. But G.C. has gone from 3rd down to 14th place in just a lap with his AI in control. So clearly Purple Sector are not playing around with these AI assignments, but nonetheless we've got Badman still leading ahead of Basin as they come into turn 2 on lap 2. DRS will be open. I think this time around, was it open just now? I think it would have surely been, was it? It was, yeah. So they're all DRS on each other, but obviously because they're all within a second of each other, nobody really gets major benefit over the car in front. We can see we've got John trying to make the move here on C-Mac, looking to the inside. They've both got DRS and C-Mac there holding on after. Oh, it's John diving down the inside, and C-Mac there goes for the cutback, sees him coming, but couldn't get any momentum there on the exit of the corner. So John has made that move, and C-Mac's not going to be happy with that one, I'll tell you that. There's going to be some words being said about between those two in the Red Bulls after that one, because that was a very, very late lunge there from John, and ultimately it cost them both a second or two and has allowed White Shadow to put up onto the back of them here in that fight for 11th place. But in the meantime we've got Badman out the front leading the race at the end of lap 2. He's got under a second here to Basin. Basin's putting him under significant pressure at the moment, and obviously Badman's the only driver in this in the top 10 really who hasn't got DRS on the car in front, so he's going to be very vulnerable here to the V-carb driver of Basin, as Basin looks to the outside and he's going to breeze past going into the braking zone. Is Badman going to have the tenacity to try and double the inside? Not quite at the moment. He might be looking to try and get a good run here out of turn 2 and maybe go for a move into turn 3, but he seems like he's not got a good enough exit there, and Basin's going to be comfortably ahead coming into this next braking zone, and he's going to hold on to the lead for the time being as Badman goes for a wide entry there into turn 3, looking to try and put some pressure on Basin through the exit of the corner. But at the moment nothing doing there for them, or nothing doing there for Badman, as we've got a battle going on here between Mango and John there is going to go around the outside here of Lauder, and he looks like he's made that one stick there as John up into 10th place, so he's got that one ahead of Mango now, as we've got White Shadow in the background there with C-Mac not too far away. G.C. AI still going around in 14th place. G.C. still yet to get back in the session, so I don't know if there's some kind of issue going on there in real life that maybe he's had to go and deal with, but it seems that there's something that has had to grab his attention. In the meantime we've got Basin, Badman, Justify, the 3 leaders at the moment. They almost gapped Scott by a second, but Scott's just about clinging onto the DRS at the moment. Saying that, I don't think he had it at the section point, but here comes Badman up the inside into turn 2, and he's made that move on Basin. Basin's looking to try and get a cutback here coming down the straight towards turn 3, but he didn't really get a good enough exit out of the corner. Justify closer to Basin than Basin is to Badman as they now come down towards turn 3, and Badman is the new race leader after losing the lead obviously on the previous lap, and he's now got it back here on lap 4 as we've got rain drops on the camera lens. This is going to be a huge, the fact that we've got rain at this early stage in the race, it's going to blow the strategy up, because if the rain continues at this rate, then at some point you'd expect the track might be getting damp here. We've got Badman on the medium tyres, we've got Basin and Justify on the hard tyres. These guys must have seen the forecast and thought that this rain's not going to be an issue, because clearly you can see that almost the entire pack has gone for hard tyres for the start of this race. So that says a lot about how long they think this rain's going to be lasting. But Basin here goes down the inside of Badman into turn 1. Badman's going to try and go for a cutback here up the hill towards turn 2, as he tucks back into the slipstream and goes for the immediate reply here, just Badman. So Badman back up into the lead of the race. Justify just watching this all unfold in front of him in 3rd place, as he gets a beautiful exit here out of turn 2, and that's going to allow him to cruise up onto the back of Badman. Badman's giving the slipstream here to Justify. By saying that, he now reverts back to the racing line, now giving the slipstream to Basin, making sure that he's giving the slipstreams to whoever's the furthest pursuer out of these two. Very smart driving there from Badman, and for the time being he's keeping these two fighting it out amongst themselves. Justify gets that move done on Basin going into the first of the two left-handers, and is now up into P2, the runner-up of last season's championship, doing a good job here in his opening laps here at the Red Bull Ring. As we see C. Faulkner and Drago are side by side here. Drago trying to keep it around the outside and has managed to do so brilliantly there. Drago holding on to P8 in that one. C. Faulkner already sporting a penalty at this early stage in the race. That is not going to be what he needed at all. He's going to be, I think, pretty wound up about that one, because there's a long way to go yet. But in the meantime, whilst Badman's been leading this train of cars, whilst these guys have all been battling, Scott, Matty, Pitt and Ernie have been gaining and gaining and gaining on the leaders, and we've now got a 6-car train. In fact, it's a 7-car train, because Rexy Boy is on the back of these guys as well, as we see John has got ahead of C. Faulkner up into P9, and hold on, have we got a safety car? No, we've got a VSC. Rexy Boy's got a 10-second penalty, so C. Faulkner's had some kind of issue here, which is obviously why John's got ahead here. So C. Faulkner's missing a front wing. Doesn't look like the safety car's out, so they're going to recover this under double waved yellows or VSC potentially. I think it's VSC, but it looks a bit, it looks too slow to be double waved yellows. But the rain undoubtedly falling at the moment, although saying that, it's only drizzle at the moment, maybe not even drizzle. It's very, very, very light rain at this point, but we see a couple of drivers coming in. Now, are they risking it and putting the inters on, hoping that we see a downpour in the next minute or so? I don't think we're quite there yet for inters, but Ernie's in, Rexy Boy, Drauga, C. Faulkner, they're all in the pits here. And I would assume they're going to be putting on that green marked intermediate tyre. Ernie puts the inters on, as does well, Drauga's put a fresh set of hards on, Rexy Boy's put a fresh set of mediums on, and so has C. Faulkner. So actually Ernie's the only one out of the 4 who's put the inters on, which is interesting. So the others clearly think that the track is still dry. Ernie's risked it well and truly and has gone for the intermediate tyres here, but as you can see, the track's still pretty dry. You can only really see the rain on the onboard cameras. These trackside cameras are not picking up any sort of moisture, and that goes to show that probably we're not quite ready for it yet, for those intermediate tyres. But Badman in the last sort of lap or so has dropped the hammer a little bit, has got the gap almost a second here over Justify. Justify just about clinging on. Let's see how close he is. He's going to have DRS up the hill towards turn 2. That's going to keep him in play a little bit, and he's still pretty close, is Justify, to be fair to him. Certainly hasn't fallen out of contention. Gap currently half a second as they come into the turn 2 braking zone. Can Justify get a good exit here up towards turn 3? I'll tell you what, he got a nice run there, didn't he? Bit more DRS to get that a little bit closer, just still a bit too far back at the moment. John and White Shadow both in the pits here at the end of lap 7. Now let's keep an eye on the telemetry, see what tyres they're putting on. In fact, they must have had drive-throughs, because they've just come out of the pits. C-Mac here's got a 3-second time penalty. So has John as well. And Scott now with a 3-second time penalty. Matty's also got ahead of Scott, so Scott is dropping back a little bit here, struggling maybe as the track gets slippery, but only one driver on the intermediate tyres. So I'll tell you what, you can see the rain on the circuit now. You can see the raindrops falling on the tarmac, which means that obviously you've got moisture, a level of moisture on the surface. So we see there Badman putting the intermediate tyres on. We're going to see Scott and Basin also putting the inters on at this point. And where's Ernie going to come out in all this? Because he came onto the inters quite a few laps ago. Ernie comes out. He's going to come out in the net lead of the race, essentially, because Badman was obviously the leader before. So he comes out a few seconds clear of Badman. So that was a brilliant strategy from Ernie there. Came in at exactly the right moment. He timed that pit stop absolutely beautifully. And is now the race leader. He's got 2 lap older tyres. It's not going to make a world of difference here. But obviously we know that Badman's got pace around this circuit. So Ernie, your new race leader here on lap 9 of this 36 lap race. And he's played an absolute corker there. The others are now going to have to catch him. But Badman is not far away, but obviously Badman, we know, has dropped some assists for this one. We don't know how that's going to play out in the wet conditions. It could be a real killer for him. But so far, it's Ernie leading the race. Badman's led the first stint. Ernie got the jump due to putting those inters on at the right time and has pumped a couple of very good laps in, which has given him track position. Justify continuing to stay out for the time being. So is Matty Pitt. So these two, I would imagine they're banking on the track drying out and the rain stopping quite soon, because those dry tyres are not going to be going the best at the moment. I think we can guarantee that. In the meantime, Ernie's pulling away from Badman. Oh, so we got a safety car, I think. Oh, we got a safety car. That's going to play into the hands of Justify and Matty Pitt if the track dries out. If it doesn't, it will still play into their hands, because they can put the inters on and still come out 1 and 2. So this has worked out absolutely beautifully here for Justify and Matty Pitt. A very conveniently timed safety car for those two. And we're going to see, I think now, everybody coming in for some intermediate tyres, because this rain is showing no signs of letting up at the moment. And we could see the driver returning from a bit of a layoff here this season, Justify, who was runner-up in the championship last season. We could be seeing him getting a win on his return here tonight. Matty Pitt doing a good job right now. Who knows? Champion from 2 seasons ago. In fact, no, 3 seasons ago now, isn't it? Or is it? No, it's 2. I can't remember. I think it's... No, it's 3 seasons ago now, yeah. Would have been season 11, it would have been, that Matty Pitt won. As Justify is in the pits here at the end of lap 10. Matty's staying out. Ugh, pardon me, that was a hiccup. Do you know what? I'm not sure if the safety car is out. No, it was a VSC. See, I thought I saw a yellow dot, but I didn't. But yeah, looks like we're still going at the moment. So Rexy Boy's been into the pits. Or he's coming in now for some new tyres by the looks of it. And he's put the intermediate tyres on. So Matty Pitt, the only driver alongside Drauga to be on the hard tyres, although Drauga is on fresher hard tyres. He put them on lap 6. But Matty Pitt here, managing to make these hard tyres work at the moment. His gap almost 10 seconds. It's not completely, well, it's not hook, line and sinker at the moment. Wet tyres, because obviously the track's still dry in places and the hard tyres are still holding their own at the moment. It's not a case of it's treacherous out there, but the wet intermediate tyres are definitely the more consistent tyre in these sorts of conditions, and we're seeing Justify gaining by about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap here on Matty Pitt. But if the track does dry out, Matty will be in a good position here to take what would be a very, very intelligently earned win. As it does appear that Ernie's closing up onto the back of Justify, and because the track is not fully wet here, DRS is still available. Ernie's made that move here on Justify, although he goes a little bit wide there, and Justify should be able to get that one back here on the exit. He does, so Justify back up into second place. This could be the net lead between these two. Once all is said and done, we can see G.C.'s got ahead of Drago. That's because Drago's in the pits. As Drago's coming to the end of the pit lane now. But Justify and Ernie still fighting, and whilst they battle, it could just give Matty Pitt a bit of a reprieve here. Matty is now losing about 3 seconds a lap here, so he is going backwards here on these hard tyres. Maybe now he might start thinking it's time to come in, because the track, or rather the weather, showing no signs of letting off at this moment. But Matty sticking with it for the time being. But he's lost about 4 seconds on that last lap there. So Matty is tip-tying around at the moment. At the moment, I project that he'll probably be losing the lead through the DRS zone on lap 15, or lap 14 maybe, because we're on lap 13 now and they're getting about 4 seconds a lap. Here we go then. Ernie looks to the outside now, up the hill towards turn 2, and that's going to be a move there into second place there for the Salva, although Justify will be looking to try and get him here on the run up towards turn 3, but Ernie gets a good run there and it's going to be way far enough ahead there to hold into position. So Ernie now into P2, can now try and chase down Matty Pitt, the current race leader, and Justify's inherited lead there was short-lived. He's got Scott hunting him down here, 2.5 seconds behind at the moment. He has got fresher tyres than Scott, but that's not really doing much for him at this moment. We can see the Mercedes in the distance there as Ernie is pulling up onto the back of Matty at the moment. Ernie, the one of the admins of the Premier Formula Racing League, which we're going to be commentating on Sunday nights. It's going to be a midnight racing league, so I'll be uploading it probably about 1 or 2 in the morning, but it'll be running at midnight UK time, which is going to be a barrel of laughs. We see Matty has now put the inters on. Finally, Matty Pitt getting himself in the pits, and he's going to come out in some clean air here ahead of Mango, but way behind the leaders here. As Justify has now got a 3-second penalty, and Justify has been hunted down by Scott as well. Scott seems to have a bit more confidence in these conditions by the looks of it. Badman isn't really gaining on these guys at the front, it has to be said. He seems like he's falling a little bit off of the leaders. We're watching Drauga here trying to put the pressure on Rexy Boy in his battle for 8th place. S14 has got ahead of a White Shadow up into P10 as we're watching the battle here for 8th place. No DRS available, obviously the conditions not permitting the use of such mechanisms here as we come into turn 1. Drago there taps the back of Rexy Boy going through turn 1, which would have just affected his ability to get a decent exit here out of turn 1. He's still pretty close to him, but Rexy Boy giving a slight reprieve there in that one. And Drago's not going to be able to do anything there going into turn 2 for the time being. S14 already now 2 seconds clear of White Shadow, having overtaken him on the previous lap there. White Shadow has now got C-Mac looming large in his rearview mirrors as well. Scott now only 1.5 seconds off of Justify, and only 4 seconds off of the lead, albeit with a penalty. Now Scott could be a danger here, because we know what sort of a driver Scott is in the wet conditions. we've seen many times over the seasons here at Purple Sector. He always goes well in the changeable, tricky, slippery conditions. Rain's still falling. You can still see when the camera gets close to the actual track surface. You can see there is clearly still rain falling, although it's not massively heavy. It doesn't look torrential, but it's certainly not going anywhere at this moment. There's Scott there getting a little bit of a twitch there coming out of turn 3. Oh my goodness me, he had to correct that there, didn't he? He's got quite a responsive steering. Clearly got the front end set up pretty sharp here, which is not going to be easy in these sorts of conditions. Tell you what, Scott's doing a brilliant job there of keeping that pointing on the road. As Rexy boy here has moved ahead of Draga up into P8. Is that job done? Draga's still pretty close to him here as they're side by side here coming into the corner, and Rexy boy there has been passed by Draga on the inside, and Draga there up into 8th place. Nice move there from the Mercedes driver on the Ferrari. But Scott here looking to try and pile the pressure on the back of the Alpine. Justify has got the back up just over a second here as they come up the hill towards turn 2 once again. As he, well, he took a lot of speed into that apex, but still kept it on the road. I can see Scott's secret to driving in the wet. He just, rather than set it up stiff and cautious, he just goes with, he just loads the front end and then clearly just combats it throughout the entire race. He must have to be on guard all the time with this setup. I mean, I don't know how he's managing to keep hold of it, but he's doing a brilliant job of it. Oh, as Scott there has got a 3-second penalty just as I say that, and that's at least his second, because he already had one before that. So Scott is pushing his luck here with the race director. The stewards here have said, come on mate, you're pushing your luck a bit now, aren't you? We've still got Justify keeping Scott at bay here in his battle for second and third places. These guys within 3 seconds of Ernie. Ernie's not pulling away as much as he was before. Maybe Justify now just starting to get a bit of a second wind on these tyres. Has potentially looked after them a little bit better than what Ernie has. Ernie's tyres are going to be going off the cliff as well because he's done 11 laps on these intermediate tyres. Justify only 7, Scott's done 9. So at this moment it would be feasible that these two would be starting to come back at Ernie a little bit as they're starting to bring the gap down ever so slightly here. Now Ernie's into the pits, so he's getting those tyres off. Justify and Scott continuing on their way for the time being. Are these tyres going to go 26 laps to the end of the race? It's a difficult one. Or 29 laps actually it would be for Ernie if he were to get these to the end of the race from here. In fact, no, 30 laps it would be to the end of the race for Scott. For Ernie. No, not for Ernie. But Scott, yeah. Scott. But, yeah, long way to go. Ernie obviously getting those tyres off, so he's not going to have to do 30 laps. Because he's put a new set of tyres here on lap 18 of the race. Scott's still trying to pile the pressure on the back of Justify as these two battle it out over the lead of the race. 7.5 seconds clear of Badman at the moment. Badman doesn't seem like he's got the pace here of the leaders tonight. In the dry he was certainly there, but in the wet conditions seems to not be the driver that we've become so accustomed to over the last couple of seasons here at Purple Sector. And Justify and Scott still continuing on their way for the time being. Here they come then once again, justifying Scott up the hill into turn 2 again, and Scott's a little bit closer this time. Now obviously the track seems to be a bit drier than before. Now it is DRS open, it doesn't look like it. But Scott's got a bit of slipstream here and could be able to put the pressure on Justify a little bit. Still a bit too far back here going into turn 3. Thinks better have a lunge for the time being. Oh, my phone's just fallen on the floor, but luckily it's carpet. But at the moment it's still Justify showing the way here in this Austrian Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. So we're over half distance here in this one. No safety cars so far. They kept it pretty clean. G.C. looking pretty close on Mango going into turn 3. Just a little bit too far away at the moment to make the move. Scott still piling the pressure here on the back of Justify for P1 here. Ernie's got ahead of Badman on his fresh intermediate tyres. Obviously 10 lap pressure tyres, and Ernie has made light work of the championship leader there, who's not looking like his usual self out there tonight. Justify still leading Scott, but it's going to be between these two, I reckon, for the race win at the moment, although Ernie's going to be chasing after them. Do these guys have to pit again? That's the question. Justify may well not need to pit again, but Scott here's retaking the lead. Penalties pending. Obviously we'll have to check those out later on. Scott's got at least 6 seconds, Justify's got at least 3 seconds, but I'm not sure if Justify's got more. I'm not sure if Scott even might have more than 6 seconds. He's got at least 2 penalties that I've seen over the course of this race so far. That's Scott having to defend the inside there from Justify going into the penultimate corner. But leaders coming down the start-finish straight here to start lap 22 of the race. As Justify looks to the inside there on Scott, trying to put him under some pressure. Scott not taking the bait at the moment, still holding his lines and not looking perturbed in any way, shape or form. Up the hill we come towards turn 2 once again. In the meantime, Draga has got ahead of Mango up into 7th place, going through the middle sector. Also, White Shadow has got ahead of C. Fortner, who's lost his front wing as well. So C. Fortner running into trouble here. C. Fortner's got problems. I think it was a front wing missing. I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, it is. So he's absolutely falling backwards at the moment, but Justify still behind Scott in this battle for the lead of the race. So C-Mac's got a 3-second penalty now for track limits as well. And Scott's still hanging on to this lead for the time being, but for how much longer is he going to be able to weather this storm here? As Mango, C-Mac and C4 are all into the pits here at the end of lap 21. See C-Mac now off and away. C4 is just getting going now. And these guys will be back out on the track in a second. Scott now into the pits. Rain continuing to fall. What tyres is he putting on? Scott has gone for the dry tyres. He's gone for a set of hards. Mango and C-Mac also on the hard tyres as well. Now it's going to be the experiment. It's going to be the test as to whether these tyres are working. Justify has extended the gap a little bit to... well, actually, no, he hasn't. He's dropped back into the clutches of Ernie quite dramatically here. And Badman has absolutely plummeted away from Justify. He's now 13 seconds behind. The crucial thing now is, can Scott get the undercut here on Justify, or are these dry tyres going to be inferior? I think he's already in undercut range here, is Scott, because memory serves me correctly, this pit lane is quite a big lost time. But Justify in the meantime has made the move on some back markers there. Obviously that was I think it was John or C-Mac, one of the Red Bulls. Matty's got ahead of Badman, and Badman's gone off. So Badman really struggling on the intermediate tyres here. Ernie only put his on 4 laps ago. He's going to be frustrated at the situation of the track drying out considerably here. Justify for the time being continuing on, but Ernie on these 8 lap pressure tyres is coming for him. But the thing is, for both of these two here, is both of them could be on the wrong tyres. And it's likely that they are, because the track's been drying out, the rain is still falling, but it's not falling at any sort of rate that would be worsening track conditions. They've only been improving over the last few laps. As Ernie here's got a good run coming out of turn 2, down towards 3 they go. Is he going to go for a lunge here? He's too far away at the moment, and Justify is going to continue to hold on for the time being, as we have just had a disconnection, I think, from C. Faulkner, who was the host of the session. Hopefully that doesn't mess things up. But Ernie looking to the inside on Justify. Justify defending very well at the moment, though. Keeping on to track position. Obviously he needs to... Well, he'd probably be needing to put the dry tyres on at some point, as we've got G.C. now coming out of the pits on fresh medium tyres. So lots of drivers putting the dry tyres on now. Now what's Justify going to do? What's Ernie going to do? Ernie will be wanting to extend the stint if he possibly can, because he only put these tyres on a few laps ago. They're both staying out for the time being. Crucially, Scott has not gained on these guys over the course of this last lap. The gap's still around 18 seconds to Scott. But as this stint goes on, he'll be starting to gain. And the thing is, it's a trade-off really, isn't it? Is it worth the pit stop? Is it worth losing 18 seconds? Do you reckon you'll make that up over the course of 11, 12 laps or 10 laps or whatever it might be, by the time they decide, if they do decide to come in? And at a certain point, you'd have to accept that probably you're not going to be able to make it up if you do, because it'd be too little laps left in order to be able to compensate for the pit lane loss. But Justify for the time being still clinging on to this lead, only trying everything he can, but at the moment to no avail. He's now looking to the outside. He's got well past him here as Ernie, and into P1 he goes around the outside into the first of the two right-handers. He goes a little bit wide there, but keeps it on the grey stuff, and Ernie back up into P1. Justify fought that one pretty well on the worn out tyres, you've got to say. But maybe now Justify's got to roll the dice. Surely now his only chance of winning this race has got to be putting the dry tyres on. I mean, he's got nothing to lose in that respect now, because Ernie's pretty much now got the free run here. So Justify into the pits. Matty, is he going to carry on? Matty is coming in, so Matty is going to get his inters off. That's going to leave just 3 of them on the dry tyres at the moment. Oh, sorry, on the intermediate tyres at the moment. So Scott's going to come round, and Scott, I think, will be in the lead. It's going to be close here with Justify, you know. Yep, so Scott takes P1, Justify in the end. It wasn't really that close in the end, but Scott going out of turn 1, and about 4 or 5 seconds behind him is Justify, who is currently in 3rd place at the moment. So Ernie still leads the race on these worn out intermediate tyres. It's going to be a cat and mouse game in these final few laps, with Scott 17 seconds behind. Justify on fresher tyres 21 seconds behind, with 10 and a half laps left in this race. So these guys are going to have to gain around 2 seconds a lap if they want to be able to put the race leader under pressure in these closing stages of the Austrian Grand Prix. What an exciting finish we've got on our hands here tonight, as we see Rexy Boy coming out of the pits. We've also got White Shadow on his way out as well on those soft tyres. And Ernie's still showing the way out the front with a 17-second gap over Scott, who continues around in P2 as he's coming over the line here to complete lap 26. So 10 to go here tonight for the Austrian Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. And it's still Ernie with a good lead, and to be fair, it's showing no signs really of plummeting. Obviously it's coming down a bit, but not at the rate that Scott would need it to if he wants to win this race. So unless the track goes completely bone dry, I mean, to be fair, I think it's stopped raining here, so the damp spots will dry out. But is there enough laps, is there enough miles in this race for Scott to be able to reel in Ernie, or is Ernie just going to bring it home on these intermediate tyres which he put on lap 19? They'll easily go to the end of the race in wet conditions, in these dry conditions. No, Ernie's coming in. Ernie's playing it safe. That will see track position in slightly fresher tyres than the likes of Scott and Justify. I think he'll come out in between them here. So Ernie playing it safe, opting to not try and get these inters to the end on the dry track. Ernie into the box. That's going to be Scott round to take the lead in a second. Ernie's now off and away. And Scott will be coming to the turn one just before him here. So Scott into P1 and Justify is going to come around, and I think, like I said, I think that Ernie's going to be in between these two. So Justify here, just in the background there, not too far behind the Sauber, but clearly behind him. 2 lap older tyres. Justify, can he challenge him maybe? 4 seconds covers the top 3 at the moment. Scott and Justify with penalties. Ernie with no penalties, so Ernie at the moment looking very, very strong. And looking good here for a win tonight, as long as he can stay within 3 seconds of Scott on his fresher tyres. You'd have to say that the momentum at the moment surely with Ernie for this race win here tonight. But still a fair way to go yet. And look at how quickly Ernie has closed up onto the back of Scott. This is absolutely incredible. The gap's already just a second here between these guys. As Justify here putting a lap on the Red Bull. But Ernie now within a second here of Scott. No DRS down this part of the track. He'll get it for the next section though. Or will he? Because Scott has good straight line speed there and actually just extended the gap to over a second before the detection point. So Scott out of DRS here. But Ernie's still trying to pile the pressure on as we approach the closing stages here of this race. And look at this, it looks as though Scott's got a bit out of shape here, and Ernie is going to be on the outside around the penultimate corner. He's made that move there as Ernie up into the lead of the race, so Scott there gave him a little sniff, and Ernie managed to take full advantage there, and up into P1 he goes as we begin lap 30. Ernie, we knew he was obviously in a good position because he had no penalties and he was well within that range there on Scott, but he hasn't needed to rely on the penalties here. He's got the move done on the track now, and Ernie, one of just 3 drivers in this race who have not got a penalty at this point. I'll tell you what, Scott's not giving up on this one. He's still right there and he's looking to try and come back in him potentially, and all the while whilst these guys battle, it's going to be potentially bringing Justify into this battle as well here. Oh my goodness me, look at the straight line speed that Williams has got. Into turn 3 he goes, and Scott up the inside has made the move back up into P1. That was unbelievable there, the speed he had going into that corner. The top end on that Williams, absolutely bonkers. He's back up into the lead here is Scott, as they now come through the double left-hander here in the middle sector. But Ernie there could do nothing about that. Scott just seemed to get nitrous oxide there as he came to the end of the straight down the hill. Incredible. So Scott now is your race leader once again. These guys about 3.5 seconds clear of Justify, so Justify could be fancying this. Oh, Scott's got another penalty here. That's going to really hurt him here in this one. And Justify, I think, has got a 3-second penalty. So at this point, yeah, he has. So even if he were to catch up to Ernie and overtake him, he'd still need to pull away for 3 seconds. So Ernie's still, I think, the odds-on favourite at this moment in time for this race victory here tonight, as he's down the inside and makes the move. Oh, Ernie's now got a penalty. Oh my goodness. Ernie now with a 3-second penalty. And Justify is going to see that and is going to be getting a real kick up the bum here. He now knows if he can get involved in this battle and somehow find his way ahead of the Sauber here, he could be a race winner on his return to the Purple Sector F1 League here tonight. But Ernie will be chasing a race win of his own here as well. You can absolutely bet on that. Oh, Scott there with a massive slide as they went through the first of the 2 right-handers. Left-handers, should I say. I think I've been calling them right-handers. My brain is just muddled up today. I do apologise. But Drauga there with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. As Ernie here is closing back up onto Scott once again. Still a little bit too far back as they go through turn 1. There's Justify in the background. Just going through your shot right now. So Ernie once again here with DRS is going to make the move on Scott into turn 2. But Scott, if he's clever about this one, will go for a cutback here with a bit of DRS to boot. Although Ernie's got a great exit there out of that corner. And I think may actually have this move done here. So Ernie up into P1 as they go through turn 3. Scott, I don't think it's going to have an answer for him now because his tyres still in a bit worse shape than what Ernie's are. So I reckon we're going to be seeing Ernie start to cement this position. Justify, I think, has got to have to set off a second place here on his return to the Purple Sector F1 League here tonight. Been a very creditable return to the league, but I think he's going to come up short here of a P1, but nonetheless a very, very creditable performance from him. There are the top 3 going through a shot. The podium runners here. Ernie currently leading the race and starting to just eke out the gap a little bit to Scott, although Scott has managed to cling on to the DRS here. As up the hill they come, and look at the straight line speed again. It is unbelievable how much speed he's got up the hill. Using up a bit of battery as well to keep himself in contention. Ernie's got barely any ARS. But Scott once again putting the pressure here on the race leader Ernie, who's got those, well, he's got the fresher tyres, but at this point in the stint, you'd think that potentially now they'd be quite even. They've both done, well, at the end of this lap, Ernie would have done 6 laps on his mediums, Scott would have done 11 on his hards. We're getting to that point in the stint where the tyres are pretty even now, but Ernie has just extended the gap beyond a second, which is going to be crucial for him. And Scott's going to need to absolutely nail these final 2 corners of the lap if he's to have any chance of staying within DRS. We've got a yellow flag here as well. And he did indeed fall out of DRS here, so Scott's now on the back foot a little bit. Is he going to get back in DRS range here down this straight? I think he might. Well, he's not. No, he doesn't get DRS. He's back within range. Now, what's going to happen here? He's going to be in range here for this next straight. And the speed that Scott has got down these straights is absolutely ridiculous. It is crazy how fast that thing is going down the straights. He's got a bit more DRS now, a bit more energy here. But Ernie's got that grip through the corners by the looks of it, which is keeping him in very good stead. He's got a much more stable car through the corners. I've realised also Scott doesn't have the front end loaded up. What he has is he's actually got the rear loaded up. But what was confusing me earlier on was that because of the understeer, he was having to make corrections. He was having to basically use full lock for some of these corners, and that was creating a lot of imbalance in the car. So actually, when I said earlier on that he had quite a twitchy front end, actually it was the opposite effect, creating a similar outcome. But you can see in the dry conditions he's on full lock through some of these corners, and he's really struggling to get the car turned in through some pretty innocuous corners. But it does look like Ernie is going to bring this one home for the win. He has got a penalty of his own now, but obviously with Scott with the 9-second penalty, Justify also with a 3-second penalty likewise to Ernie, but 5 seconds adrift of him as we start the final lap of the race here. So Ernie looking like he's going to bring this one home here for what's going to be a brilliant win in these changeable conditions, as he's just putting it up there on his teammate. Sorry, not on his teammate. That looked like a Sauber for a second. It's an Aston Martin. It's white shadow hole there. Hasn't even got a teammate. But Ernie coming down towards turn 3 here on the final lap of the race. Half a lap left to go here for him. He's got the gap almost 2 seconds now over Scott, and he's done a phenomenal job here tonight as Ernie, to be fair. Barely put a foot wrong throughout the course of this race. Right strategy, right time. Made the switch onto inters before anybody else was brave enough. And it has absolutely paid off. A treat for him tonight. Scott, to be fair, has shown his class in the changeable conditions, as he has done many times. Justify is going to finish P2 on the classification because of Scott's penalties, but Ernie here through the final corner here at the Red Bull Ring. He's going to take the Austrian Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League for round 11 of season 14, and Ernie there with a brilliant drive and absolutely played that one brilliantly. A mastermind of a strategy there from him. Justify second, Scott over to complete the podium in the end. We've got Mango and White Shadow a lap down in 8th and 9th places there, as Matty Pitt gets 4th on the penalties ahead of Badman, who crosses the line ahead of Matty Pitt, but obviously drops behind him on the penalties. We've got G.C. coming into the final corner now, and it's going to be 6th place here on the road for G.C. And G.C. not a million miles ahead of his teammate, who's just coming into the final corner now. Rexy Boy will be a 7th place for him, and he'll be the last driver on the lead lap as he comes over there. John will be the last driver to cross the line in P10, and that is that for tonight's action here. But Ernie taking a well-deserved victory here in this Austrian Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. A brilliant drive here from him, and he finishes ahead of Scott and Justify, who complete the podium. Justify a very impressive drive on his return to Purple Sector. But that is that for tonight. Thanks to Purple Sector League once again for giving us some great action, and thanks for having me on the comms as always. And we'll be back on Thursday for Purple Sector, so tomorrow night will be a rare day off for me, and then back on the comms on Thursday, so looking forward to that one already. I would have thought around 12 at Silverstone, I think, if memory serves me correctly. Hopefully it is. Anyway, see you for whatever it is.